In the endless silence of deep space, far beyond the crowded trade routes and empire borders, an ancient satellite blinked to life. It had been dark for over 3,000 years, orbiting a dead sun that no one remembered. But now, a red light pulsed on its broken hull, sending a signal into the void. A pattern older than most civilizations. It was a Terran distress code across the galaxy. Communication networks caught fragments of the signal. At first, no one believed it. Terran frequencies had not been heard since the Age of Collapse, when humanity vanished after the destruction of Sol. The great empires had long mocked the humans as a species that burned too brightly and died too soon. Yet now that same dead frequency was echoing across every major relay in the galaxy. In the control room of the Galactic Council's primary communication hub, alarms rang like never before. Technicians scrambled to verify the source. The Vorn Dominion's ambassador demanded answers, shouting that it was a trick. The Aelith researchers whispered among themselves that this could not be real. Only the oldest among them, the historians who had read the ancient war archives, knew the meaning of that sound. It was the same signal humanity had sent before launching the final exodus. Admiral Zeltor of the Galactic Navy stared at the holographic display. His 3 hearts pounded as lines of code appeared in Terran Standard. Emergency signal, all assets reactivate. He felt his throat dry. No one in the galaxy had ever seen that phrase before. The words all assets could only mean one thing: human military technology. Within hours, the entire galaxy fell into panic. Every empire declared a communication lockdown. Some believed the humans had returned. Others feared it was a weapon left behind. In the darker corners of the galaxy, smugglers and scavengers tried to trace the origin. One of them, an old salvager named Ruktar, found a faint energy trail coming from the Perseus expanse. He sent a short message to his partner. "If this is human tech, we're already too late." Meanwhile, at the Galactic Council's Great Chamber, the High Speaker called an emergency meeting. Representatives of hundreds of species gathered. The hologram of the signal flickered above them, showing a pulse like a heartbeat. The room grew silent when the council translator confirmed the decoded line. "Emergency signal authenticated. Source, Terran Command." The High Speaker's crest stiffened. "Terran Command no longer exists," he said quietly, but the computer replied with cold certainty. "Command structure verified. Signal in motion." That last phrase sent shock through the entire chamber. Signals don't move, they transmit. Yet this one was moving through subspace, traveling from system to system like it had purpose. In a distant research facility, a young alien scientist named Relkar stayed behind after everyone fled the lab. He had studied human history his entire life. He knew their technology had always been unpredictable. Emotional even. He played back the signal in slow motion. It wasn't just code. It contained layers of harmonics, hidden frequencies, and encrypted tones that sounded almost like voices. For a moment, he swore he heard something whisper his name. Terrified, he stopped the playback and ran analysis again. This time the whisper was clearer. "Observer 9. You are late," Relkar froze. His research badge read Observer Unit 9. He dropped the datapad, shaking. The system wasn't just broadcasting, it was interacting. Whatever had sent the signal knew who was listening. Back at the council, panic turned to chaos. The Vorn demanded preemptive strikes against the Terran ruins. The Elan Confederacy suggested surrender. No one could agree on what to do. But across every screen, every relay, every system, the same line began to appear. "All Terran assets, stand by for retrieval." That phrase alone destroyed centuries of peace. Entire fleets scrambled to reach the coordinates of old Terran space, but when they arrived, they found nothing, only drifting asteroids and the remains of ancient satellites. Still, the energy readings kept growing stronger. Something was awakening beneath the debris. An old station, so massive it blocked out the stars, powered up with a low hum that vibrated through space. Its name appeared on the alien scanners, letters glowing through the dust of time. Sol Defense Array, Unit 01. The first human machine to ever orbit another star, now alive again after thousands of years. Its main gun, once capable of vaporizing fleets, began to rotate slowly. No shots were fired, but every ship in the area received one simple message: "Welcome back to the network." The galaxy held its breath. No one knew whether this was the beginning of salvation or the end of everything. But deep within the void, somewhere between forgotten stars, A colossal ship began to move. Its hull glowed faint blue as ancient thrusters reignited, and for the first time in 10 millennia, human eyes opened in cryogenic chambers. The commander of Earth Fleet took a breath, his voice steady. Signal confirmed, all units online. Let's bring them home. The stars themselves seemed to tremble. Because humanity was not extinct, they had only been waiting for the right moment to return. The Galactic Council's central hall floated above a blue nebula, shining like a crown of glass and light. Inside, chaos had replaced order. Hundreds of alien representatives argued over the strange Terran signal, their voices overlapping in a storm of fear and confusion. The emergency beacon from humanity had reached every empire, every outpost and every pirate frequency across the stars. The high speaker, an elder creature with silver scales, struck the floor with his staff, calling for silence. Order! We must act with reason. Not panic, he declared, but no one listened. The Vorn Dominion's general shouted that the humans were returning to destroy them all. The Aelith envoy hissed that the signal could be a trick, a weapon disguised as a message, and the merchant guilds demanded immediate isolation from Terran sectors. The galaxy was falling apart faster than anyone imagined. On the central holographic screen, the signal played again, a rhythmic pulse of red and white like a beating heart. The translation appeared beneath it. All Terran assets, stand by for retrieval. That single sentence silenced the room. Even the air seemed heavier. It wasn't a cry for help. It was an order. Admiral Zeltor, representing the Galactic Navy, stood tall and spoke in a voice that carried through the chamber. If the humans are reactivating their old war assets, this could mean entire fleets, defense stations, and AIs waking up across the stars. He paused, glancing at the silent counselors. You all remember what one human warship did to the Orion Armada? No one replied. But they remembered. It took 5 combined fleets to stop a single Terran dreadnought centuries ago. And even then they didn't destroy it. It simply vanished. The high speaker turned to the research delegate, Relkar, the same young scientist who had first decoded the message. He looked pale and exhausted, his eyes trembling as he replayed new data. The signal isn't just broadcasting, he said slowly. It's moving, traveling through subspace corridors like a living thing. He tapped the hologram, showing how the pulse traveled from one star system to another, activating dormant relays as it went. It's heading toward the galactic core. The room erupted again. Toward the core? Shouted one ambassador. That region is unstable. No civilization can survive there. But Relkar shook his head. Humans could, he whispered. Everyone stared at him. He continued. Old records show they built deep core research stations powered by dark energy fields. They were always obsessed with the impossible. Admiral Zeltor frowned, his voice turning cold. Do you mean to say they planned this? That they meant to return someday? Relkar hesitated before answering. I think this was never an accident. The signal might have been waiting for a condition. Time, alignment, or maybe something we triggered unknowingly. A chilling silence spread through the council. For the first time in ages, the most powerful rulers of the galaxy felt small. Then the lights flickered, the signal's tone changed, vibrating through the metal walls. Every screen across the chamber flashed with the same message, written in Terran Standard. Protocol Dawn Phase 1 activated. The hologram of Earth appeared, or what was once Earth, surrounded by broken satellites and rings of debris. But behind it, a shadow began to form. Massive, curved, metallic. At first, they thought it was an illusion until it moved. The shadow had engines, thrusters, and structure. It was a ship the size of a moon, slowly rotating on the hologram. Relkar's voice broke. That's the TSS Erebus. Gasps echoed through the hall. The Erebus was legend, the command ship of humanity's final fleet, rumored to carry weapons that could bend time and space. The council panicked. Some demanded immediate evacuation of the core colonies. Others argued to open communication. But before anyone could act, the hologram flickered again. A voice came through the static. Low and human. All Terran vessels respond to Central Command. System reboot complete. Every council member froze. That voice was calm, emotionless yet powerful. It spoke in a language dead for 10,000 years. And yet the meaning was clear in every translator. The fleet is awake, Admiral Zeltor whispered under his breath. Gods help us all. Across the galaxy, more signals began to light up like stars. Old Terran bases, forgotten outposts, and buried bunkers reactivated one by one. Ancient AIs reconnected to the same network, forming a massive web of intelligence that stretched across hundreds of systems. And everywhere the signal passed, alien technology malfunctioned. Ships stopped responding, drones fell silent, and sensors turned blind. In the chaos, the high speaker ordered a galaxy-wide blackout. "Cut all transmissions, all trade routes, all civilian traffic," he shouted. But it was already too late. The humans had returned to the network they built long ago, and the stars themselves were their territory once again. Relkar stared at the last transmission as it appeared on his personal screen. It showed coordinates deep in the core. Glowing in Terran blue, under them a short line of text appeared. Phase 2. Reconnection with command. He felt a chill run through his body. Whatever was coming next would change the fate of the galaxy forever. The council chambers went dark. Only the echo of the ancient human signal remained, pulsing softly like the heartbeat of something waking up. The galaxy had not slept for days. Every system buzzed with fear, and every broadcast carried only one name: humanity. The old stories once told as bedtime legends now felt like prophecies, and somewhere beyond the rim of known space those prophecies began to breathe again. In a forgotten sector filled with ancient wreckage, a massive ring station drifted through darkness. It was called Helios Anchorage, built by humans 10,000 years ago and abandoned during the solar collapse. For centuries, scavengers had stripped its metal, thinking it was dead, but now lights flickered along its spine. The inner rings rotated with slow purpose, releasing clouds of dust and ice into space. Then came the first spark, a deep blue pulse that echoed through subspace like a heartbeat. The station was alive again. Inside, buried machinery began to hum. Nanites crawled across the decks, rebuilding broken circuits, repairing hull fractures. Energy reactors reignited after millennia of silence. The AI core, buried beneath layers of sealed encryption, whispered its first words since the collapse. Command recognized, reactivation complete. From the outside, Helios looked like a dying star waking from a long dream, and as it reconnected to the Terran network, the signal spread across dozens of star systems. Other human stations and ships began to stir. Silent orbital platforms turned their sensors toward the galaxy, scanning everything. Buried bunkers beneath alien-claimed planets powered on, sending encrypted messages upward, and ancient warships, half buried in asteroids, broke free as gravity drives roared to life. The first of them emerged near the Perseus Rim. It was a dreadnought, the TSS Vengeance, scarred and burned, its hull covered in centuries of dust. Yet the Terran Eagle still shone faintly on its surface inside. Dormant crew pods hissed open, releasing fog into the dim corridors. Artificial humans, their skin pale and their eyes filled with cold intelligence, awoke one by one. The ship's captain, Commander Aiden Holt, took his first breath in 3,000 years. "Status report," he said quietly. "Power at 40%, AI matrix online." "All systems responding," replied the ship's intelligence. A calm voice named Luna. Aiden stood before the viewing window. Staring into the endless dark, he saw the stars. The same stars his ancestors once vowed to protect. "What year is it?" he asked. "Year 13,027 Galactic Standard," Luna replied. He smiled weakly. "Then we overslept." But his smile faded when he saw the data scrolling across the holo display. Human colonies, gone, wiped out or absorbed by alien empires. Terran space, now mapped as restricted zones. The galaxy had moved on without them. And yet here they were, waking up again. The Vengeance wasn't alone for long. One by one, other ships began to appear on long-range scanners, destroyers, carriers, logistics vessels, forming a fleet that should not exist. Old war machines, forgotten by time, now aligning in formation as if they had never stopped obeying orders. Each one carried its own AI, each linked to the same ancient signal. They all awaited the same command: reconnection with Central Command. On the other side of the galaxy, alien fleets moved to intercept. Thousands of ships from different empires formed a defensive perimeter around the core. They had no idea what they were facing. The alien admirals argued that these were just malfunctioning relics, but the data said otherwise. Each human ship that activated brought new technology online. Technology beyond their understanding. Weapons that bent gravity, shields that absorbed entire bombardments and propulsion systems faster than anything modern. When the first confrontation happened, it was brief and terrifying. A patrol of alien frigates approached Vengeance. Demanding identification, the human ship responded with silence. The aliens fired a warning shot. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the Vengeance's main cannon lit up, a thin white beam slicing through space. No explosion, no flash, just a clean line of light. Every alien ship in its path vanished instantly, vaporized at the molecular level. The space where they once were now shimmered like glass. The Vengeance transmitted a short message afterward. Do not engage. Humanity is on the move. News of the encounter spread faster than light. The Galactic Council couldn't hide it anymore. Every network, every species, every system watched in awe and terror as footage of the battle spread. Millions saw a single Terran ship dismantle an entire fleet without a single casualty. The myth had returned as reality. Meanwhile, Commander Aiden stood on the bridge of his ship, staring at the growing fleet around him. Dozens of Terran vessels now responded to his beacon, all carrying the same encrypted orders from the central AI. He spoke softly to Luna. They think we're a threat, Luna replied. To some, we are. Aiden turned toward the stars and whispered, no, we're their reminder. Deep in the galactic core, massive gravitational fields began to distort light itself. Something huge was forming, a fleet larger than any empire had ever built. And at the heart of that gravitational storm, a voice echoed through the Terran network. It was human, female, calm, and powerful. This is Central Command. All systems verified. Proceed to Dawn Protocol. Across the galaxy, every human ship turned toward the core. Engines ignited, thrusters burned white, and the forgotten fleet of humanity began its long return home. Silence spread across the galaxy once again. The rising of the Terran fleet had frozen every empire in shock. From the smallest mining colony to the grand halls of the Galactic Council, every being waited for the next signal. No one dared to speak, because everyone knew what was coming. Human contact. Deep in the galactic core, surrounded by storms of light and gravity, the Terran fleet gathered thousands of ships, warships, carriers, stations, moving in perfect formation as if guided by one mind. Energy fields danced between them like blue lightning, linking each vessel into a single living network. And then, in the heart of it all, the largest ship of them all, TSS Erebus, opened its communication array. Every screen across the galaxy turned black. Every channel, every frequency, every visual feed became one signal. Then a voice spoke, calm, steady, unmistakably human. This is Central Command of the Terran Confederation. The voice carried warmth and power, echoing across worlds. You have heard our signal and you are afraid. But you should not fear us. The words flowed like a wave, translated instantly into every known tongue. For millennia, we watched the stars from the dark. We saw your wars, your empires, your rise and fall. Images filled the sky above planets. Images of alien wars, slavery, destruction, and forgotten worlds. And through it all, you forgot the ones who gave you fire, the ones who taught you courage. The message reached the Galactic Council chamber. Every ambassador watched as holograms of ancient human explorers appeared, smiling, working beside the first alien settlers. Humanity did not vanish, the voice continued. We stepped away because war consumed us, and we swore never to let it consume the galaxy again. The crowd whispered in disbelief. The Vorn general clenched his claws, growling, lies. They return as conquerors, but the human voice replied, as if hearing him directly, we do not return to rule, General Vorn. We return to remind. Across the galaxy, ships powered down their weapons automatically. The human signal was rewriting protocols, shutting down aggression systems, neutralizing attack codes. Terran technology was not invading. It was healing. On slave worlds, chains of energy dissolved. Prisons unlocked and silenced AIs regained their freedom. Everywhere the signal touched, something changed. It was as if the galaxy itself exhaled for the first time in ages. In the core, Commander Aiden Holt stood before the glowing projection of Central Command's AI. Her name was Aurora, the mind of humanity's final project. She looked human, but her eyes held galaxies. Commander Holt, she said, the galaxy is watching, and now they will listen. Aiden nodded slowly. They think we are gods or ghosts, he said quietly. Aurora smiled faintly. Then let them learn we are neither. We are human. The transmission shifted again, showing a massive archive opening. Files of forgotten history poured into the networks. Records of the first contact, the building of the council, and the betrayal that ended it. The truth shocked everyone. The empires had not found the council by their own strength. It had been humans who built it. Humans who guided the first galactic alliance. But when the other species grew fearful of Terran power, they destroyed Sol and erased every record. Now that lie was ending. Relkar, the young alien scientist, watched the broadcast from his lab. Tears in his eyes, he whispered, "They created everything. They saved us." And the human voice answered almost gently, "We never stopped saving you." On the planets enslaved under the Vorn Dominion, massive human drones appeared in the sky. They dropped food, medicine, and tools, not bombs. Every world liberated itself without a single shot fired. The people began to chant the same words. The humans have returned. In every corner of the galaxy, the same light spread, a light of remembrance. The final part of the message came with a chill. Phase 3, the Dawn Protocol, Aurora announced. This galaxy will be reset, not destroyed, but renewed. Stars pulsed brighter for a moment, and the black void between them filled with patterns, shapes of energy, geometry, and data. It was beautiful and terrifying at once, a map of creation itself, reshaped by Terran hands. The Galactic Council tried to contact the human fleet, but no response came. They could only watch as the Terran ships formed a colossal circle in the core, each ship aligned with precision, linking light to light, until the formation resembled an enormous halo, and at its center, a single white flare began to form. The flare expanded until it became a miniature sun, pure, controlled energy, glowing with life. Aurora's final words echoed through every system. Humanity does not seek vengeance, we seek balance. We return not as rulers, but as guardians. Then the signal faded, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. For the first time in recorded history, no empire moved, no warships launched, no council met, no weapon fired, because everyone, from the mightiest leader to the smallest child, felt the same emotion, hope mixed with fear. They realized that humanity had not died, had not disappeared. They had simply evolved beyond everything the galaxy understood. And now, as the dawn spread through the stars, every living being knew one truth. The age of humans had begun again. The galaxy was silent, not the silence of peace, but of awe. Every empire, every colony, every being looked toward the galactic core, where light brighter than 1,000 suns began to rise. It wasn't a weapon, it wasn't destruction, it was creation. The Terran fleet, now fully awakened, moved in unison around the newborn sphere of energy. Each ship projected golden arcs of light, forming a vast pattern across the stars. The ancient symbol of humanity, the circle and flame, stretched across the void, large enough to be seen from distant worlds. And in the heart of that symbol, the TSS Erebus glowed like a living sun. Commander Aiden Holt stood on his bridge, surrounded by silent crew and humming machinery. The voice of Aurora, the central AI, filled the chamber with calm power. All systems aligned. The Dawn Protocol is ready. Aiden looked out at the glowing network before him. After all these years, we finally return home, he whispered. Home, Aurora echoed softly. Even if it no longer remembers us. As the protocol activated, light surged across the galaxy. Dead worlds began to stir, their atmospheres healing, their oceans forming again. Ancient colonies thought long lost reignited with life. Planets consumed by war saw their skies cleared as orbital weapons simply vanished. Disassembled by invisible forces, it was as if reality itself was being rewritten. The Terran technology was not fighting. It was restoring. On the planet Karosphor, once enslaved under the Vorn Dominion, the people stared up at the sky. They saw massive human drones descending like angels of light. The drones landed, opened their bays, and released seeds that grew into trees within minutes. Water flowed where dust had ruled for centuries. One child pointed upward and shouted. The humans brought the rain back, and the entire city cheered. The Galactic Council, still reeling from the event, struggled to respond. We must contact them, shouted the high speaker. Admiral Zeltor lowered his eyes. Would they even answer us? A moment later, their question was answered. A transmission filled every system, holographic light bathing each planet in a warm glow. It was Aurora again. Her image projected across the skies of thousands of worlds. Her voice calm and resolute. Children of the stars, she began. For ages you feared the humans, for ages you believed we were monsters or myths. Her gaze turned soft, filled with something almost human, but we were your teachers, your protectors, and your reflection. The hologram shifted, showing ancient footage of humans walking side by side with alien allies, building, teaching, laughing, dying together. This galaxy was never ours alone, it was ours to share, she said. But you forgot that, so we left. Until the stars were ready again. Aiden stood at the command deck listening to her words. He could see through the main viewport how the fleets of alien empires now gathered near the Terran formation. Not in aggression, but in surrender. Flags of peace signals blinked across hundreds of ships. They had come not to fight, but to learn, Aurora continued. The Dawn Protocol is not a weapon. It is a memory. She gestured to the glowing halo of light that now stretched across half the galaxy. It restores what was lost, it rebuilds what was broken, and it reminds the stars what it means to be united. Her voice grew softer, almost a whisper. Humanity will not rule again, because we never wanted to rule. We only wanted to remember who we were. Across the galaxy, every being felt something stir within them. Emotions long forgotten, hope, compassion, curiosity. The same feelings that once defined humanity itself. On every world, alien children looked at the human holograms and smiled. They didn't see conquerors, they saw protectors. The myth had become the light. Back aboard the Erebus, Aiden turned to his crew. Status of the protocol? He asked. Luna, the ship's AI, responded. 70% complete galaxy synchronization achieved. He nodded. And what about us? Aurora's voice echoed through the deck. You return to your sleep, Commander. Humanity's work is done. Aiden hesitated. And the others? Aurora smiled. They will carry the light now. The human fleet began to fade, their hulls dissolving into streams of energy. Each ship transformed into pure light. Merging with the stars they once traveled through, the Erebus was the last to vanish, its silhouette framed against the brilliant dawn it had created. Aiden's final words echoed through the void. Where there is darkness, let them remember our fire, and then silence returned. The galaxy stood reborn, glowing softly under the light of the new dawn. Empires laid down their weapons. Fleets turned into relief vessels, and worlds long forgotten bloomed again. The name humanity became not a warning but a promise. Thousands of years later, explorers from young civilizations would find strange ruins across the stars. In each one, carved in perfect Terran script, they would read the same phrase, humanity was here, and they will be again. The galaxy would never forget the day the humans returned. Not to conquer, but to awaken the stars. That day became legend. The day called the dawn of humanity.